The night was quiet, too quiet for anyone to notice what was happening far above the Earth. Hidden in the dark of space, a signal moved silently, crossing light years of emptiness. It was not meant for human ears. It was not meant for any human at all. But Earth heard it. No one knew the exact moment when the message first touched the planet. Some believed it was an accident, others thought it was fate. The giant radio telescopes in the desert caught it before anyone understood what it was. At first, it was only a strange whisper, a low sound buried under cosmic noise. But soon, the whisper became words. Inside a dim control room, a young operator named Daniel stared at the screen. He was tired, half asleep, when the numbers changed and the pattern appeared. At first, he thought it was an error, maybe interference. But the pattern was too perfect. Too sharp. Too alive. He leaned closer. The signal repeated again and again, as if it was calling, waiting for someone to listen. Daniel hesitated. His finger hovered over the button that would alert the senior staff. His training told him to report it immediately. But a strange chill touched him, like the sound was not meant for him, not meant for anyone. Still, curiosity won. He pressed the button. Moments later, the room filled with people. Scientists, engineers, and experts crowded around the screens. They stared in silence, their faces pale in the blue glow of the monitors. The sound was played through the speakers, and the room froze. It was a voice. Not human. Not machine. A voice speaking in a language no one had ever heard. The scientists worked quickly. Computers tried to decode the strange message, translating symbols, breaking down patterns. Hours passed, then days. No one left the control center. The signal never stopped, it kept repeating, like a message stuck in a loop. It was haunting, and some workers refused to stay near the speakers. Finally, the first words were decoded. Simple words. But they were enough to silence the entire room. Do not answer. This is not for you. The message was clear. It was a warning, or maybe something else. But for the humans who had heard it, there was no way to turn away. Curiosity was stronger than fear. If this message was not for them, then who was it for? And why had Earth heard it? Across the world, governments became involved. The discovery could not be hidden for long. News leaked, rumors spread. People whispered about aliens, secret messages, hidden truths. Panic started to grow. Some called it a sign of hope, others called it a threat. In a cold meeting room deep underground, leaders and generals listened to the recording. The voice echoed through the speakers, repeating again and again. Do not answer. This is not for you. The room was tense. No one spoke at first. Finally, one of the generals leaned forward. We cannot ignore this, he said. If there is something out there, if someone is sending messages, we need to know who they are. We need to know if they are dangerous. But one scientist, an old man with white hair and tired eyes, shook his head. You don't understand, he whispered. This is not a message for us. We were never supposed to hear it. If we answer, we may expose ourselves. Whoever this was meant for may not be friendly. The debate went on for hours. Some wanted to hide the message forever. Others wanted to study it, to learn everything about it. But one thing was certain, the message had already changed humanity. The simple fact that they were not alone in the universe was enough to shake the world. And then something strange happened. On the third day, when the scientists checked the recordings again, the message had changed. The loop was broken. The words were different. Who heard this? The voice asked. The room went silent. No one moved. The voice repeated, sharper this time, louder, almost demanding. Who heard this? Fear spread through the control center. The signal was no longer a dead loop. It was alive. It was listening. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He remembered the first moment when he heard the whisper. The way it almost felt like it was reaching out to him. He wondered if, somehow, the voice knew. The scientists tried to remain calm. They checked the instruments, the recordings, the data. But there was no mistake. The message was now aware of its new audience. Outside the control room, the world continued in ignorance. People worked, laughed, and lived, unaware of the voice that had crossed the stars and found them. But for the few who knew, fear had taken root. The message was meant for no one on Earth. But Earth had heard it. And now, someone, or something, out there knew they had. The night was no longer quiet. The control room was silent after the new words appeared. No one wanted to be the first to speak. The computers repeated the translation again and again. Who heard this? Who heard this? It felt as if the voice was not just speaking into the air, but looking for someone, searching, reaching, trying to find the ears that did not belong to it. Daniel stood at the back of the room, frozen. His heartbeat was too loud in his own chest. The voice felt personal, like it was asking him directly. But that was impossible. It was just a signal, just a message from far away. It could not know who he was. It could not. The head scientist, Dr. Howard, spoke first. His voice was weak, but steady. The signal has changed. It is reactive. We are no longer observing a message. We are in communication. The word hung in the air, communication. The people in the room exchanged worried glances. Communication meant connection. And connection meant risk. The general slammed his hand on the table. Then let's answer. If it is asking, we must respond. If we stay silent, it may consider us hostile. We can show them we are intelligent. But Dr. Howard shook his head sharply. No. We were warned. The first line of the message was clear. Do not answer. It was not advice, it was instruction. We were not meant to hear this. If we reply, we will declare ourselves. The general leaned closer, his eyes cold. And if they already know we heard it? If silence is more dangerous than speech? The room was divided. Some feared speaking, others feared silence. But Daniel only felt one thing, that the voice was aware of him. He remembered the first moment, the whisper in the static. The strange chill in his bones. The feeling that the sound was alive. The scientists decided to delay any response. For now, they would listen. They would wait. But the voice did not wait. Hours later, the signal shifted again. The translation appeared slowly, letter by letter, as if the sender was learning how to speak to them more clearly. You are not the ones. Wrong world. Wrong ears. The words were sharp, almost angry. The room trembled with fear. The signal continued, a strange pulse rising and falling, as if the voice was searching across the stars. Then more words appeared. They will come. They will know. You have stolen their message. The meaning was clear. Whoever the true recipients of the message were, they were not human. And now, they would learn that humans had intercepted it. Dr. Howard leaned back in his chair, pale and shaking. We should have destroyed the recording. We should have ended it when we had the chance. The general growled. No. This is knowledge. This is proof we are not alone. We cannot run from it. If they are coming, then we prepare. But prepare for what? That question echoed in Daniel's mind. Prepare for who? Days passed. The message kept changing. Sometimes it repeated the same warnings, do not answer. Not for you. Other times, it grew stranger, they will search. They will see the fire of your world. They will not stop. The world outside began to notice the secrecy. Rumors spread across the internet. Whispers of alien voices, government lies, hidden contact. Some believed, others laughed. But the truth was darker than any of them imagined. Then, on the seventh day, something happened that no one expected. The signal stopped. For the first time in a week, the voice was silent. The telescopes scanned the skies again and again, but there was nothing. The static returned. The endless whisper of the universe replaced the voice. Relief spread through the control center. Some cheered quietly. Maybe it was over. Maybe they had been spared. But Daniel did not feel relief. He felt dread. Because when the signal ended, he thought he heard something else, something faint, like an echo inside his own head. A whisper, not through the speakers, but inside his mind. You heard me. Daniel froze. He looked around the room. No one else reacted. The scientists kept checking the instruments, the generals whispered to one another. No one heard it but him. His hands shook. He pressed them against his ears, but the whisper was not in the air. It was deeper. Inside. You heard me. You cannot hide. Daniel felt cold sweat run down his neck. He wanted to shout, to tell the others, but fear held his tongue. If he said it out loud, it would be real. The night dragged on, long and heavy. He tried to focus on the machines, the screens, the endless data. But the whisper returned again, softer this time, almost calm. They are coming. And in that moment, Daniel understood the truth. The message had not just been heard by Earth. It had chosen him. The night was no longer silent. Daniel barely slept that night. Even when he closed his eyes, the whisper stayed inside his head. It was not constant. It came and went, like a faint breath, but every time it returned, it repeated the same warning. They are coming. He tried to ignore it. He tried to convince himself it was only stress, only his imagination. But deep down, he knew. The message had not just been intercepted by Earth. It had reached him. The next morning, the control center was restless. The scientists argued about the missing signal. Some said it was gone forever. Others believed it would return. The general demanded preparations, but no one knew what to prepare for. They had no enemy, no name, no face. Daniel kept silent. He wanted to speak, but he could not tell them what he heard. How could he explain that the voice had chosen him? They would think he was losing his mind. Dr. Howard, however, noticed something. The old scientist had sharp eyes, always watching. He caught Daniel's nervous movements, the way he pressed his fingers against his temples, as if trying to push something away. Late that evening, when most had left, Dr. Howard approached him. You hear it, don't you? Daniel froze. His throat went dry. What do you mean? The voice, Dr. Howard whispered. You still hear it. Even now that the signal is gone. Daniel's eyes widened. He wanted to deny it, but the truth was too heavy. How do you know? Dr. Howard leaned closer. Because I hear it too. Daniel's chest tightened. He thought he was alone. But now, the old scientist's words cut through the silence. Dr. Howard sighed. It is faint, like an echo. It started last night. I thought it was only me. But now I see, it is stronger in you. Daniel felt his stomach twist. What does it want? The old man's expression grew dark. Not us. We were never meant to hear it. But it knows we did. And now, we are marked. Before Daniel could reply, alarms sounded through the control center. Red lights flashed, and soldiers rushed into the room. The general stormed in, shouting orders. The signal is back, someone yelled. The scientists ran to their stations. The giant screens lit up with new data. The signal was stronger than before, sharper, more focused. And it was not coming from deep space anymore. It was closer. Much closer. It's inside the solar system, one of the operators whispered. The source, it's moving. Panic spread. Everyone knew what that meant. The sender was not just broadcasting across the stars anymore. It was here. The voice returned through the speakers. This time, it was clear, steady, and sharp. No longer a broken language. No longer distorted. It was speaking directly. We are coming. You have what is not yours. The room went silent. Every face turned pale. The general slammed his fist against the table. They are threatening us. We must prepare our defenses. But Dr. Howard shook his head. No weapon can stop what is coming. We do not even know what they are. The voice repeated, colder this time. You cannot hide. We follow the stolen sound. The thief must pay. Daniel's chest burned. He knew, without doubt, that the message was speaking about him. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to stand. They're looking for me, he whispered, almost too quiet for anyone to hear. Dr. Howard turned to him instantly. His eyes narrowed. He understood. But before they could speak further, the lights in the control center flickered. The screens glitched. The signal began to spread, not only across the instruments but across every electronic device in the building. Phones, radios, even the computers on standby, all began to echo the same chilling words. "We are coming." The general barked orders, soldiers ran, and scientists tried to shut down the systems. But it was useless. The message was everywhere. Then, just as suddenly, everything stopped. The screens went black. The lights steadied. The message was gone. Everyone stood in silence, shaking, breathing hard. Dr. Howard placed a trembling hand on Daniel's shoulder. "It has chosen you," he whispered. Daniel wanted to deny it, to run, to hide. But deep inside, he knew it was true. The voice had reached inside his mind. It had found him. That night, when he was alone in his small apartment, Daniel sat in the dark. His phone was turned off. His computer unplugged. He wanted silence. But silence never came. The whisper returned, softer than before, almost gentle. "You cannot run, Daniel." His blood froze. It had spoken his name. Daniel sat frozen in the dark of his apartment. The whisper of his name still echoed in his mind. He had turned off every device, but it didn't matter. The voice was not traveling through machines anymore. It was inside him. "You cannot run, Daniel." He clenched his fists, trying to steady his breath. "What do you want from me?" he whispered into the empty room. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the whisper returned. "You opened the path. You heard what was not yours. Now they see you. Now they follow." Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to scream, to tear the sound out of his head, but there was no escape. Whoever had sent the message was not speaking through space anymore, they were speaking through him. The next morning, Daniel went back to the control center. His eyes were tired, his face pale. Dr. Howard noticed at once. "They spoke to you again, didn't they?" the old scientist asked quietly. Daniel nodded slowly. "They know my name." Dr. Howard's face went cold. "Then it is worse than I thought." Before they could say more, the general called for an emergency meeting. The scientists, soldiers, and engineers gathered in the main chamber. On the screen, new data flashed. The source of the signal was moving. Fast. "It has entered the outer edge of our solar system," one operator explained, his voice trembling. "It's not just a signal anymore. It's a ship." The room erupted in chaos. The general barked for silence. "We have 7 days. 7 days until it reaches Earth orbit." The air grew heavy. 7 days. Humanity had never faced anything like this before. Some argued for war. Missiles, satellites, nuclear weapons. Others argued for silence, to shut down all communication and hope the strangers passed by. Dr. Howard spoke softly, but firmly. "You don't understand. They are not looking for Earth. They are looking for whoever answered. Whoever broke the silence." His eyes moved toward Daniel, but he did not speak his name. Daniel lowered his head. His chest felt tight. He wanted to confess, but fear locked his tongue. That night, as he left the building, he felt the whisper again. "They are closer. They can see your fire. They can see your world." Daniel's breath quickened. "Why me? Why are you in my head?" The answer was sharp. "Because you listened. Because you touched what was forbidden. You are marked." Daniel stumbled down the empty street, his mind spinning. The city lights around him seemed weak, fragile, like candles in the dark. Somewhere far above, something was coming. The next day, strange things began to happen. Reports arrived from across the world. Static in radios. Strange sounds in phone lines. Glimpses of shadows on satellite images. People who had never heard the original signal began complaining of whispers in their dreams. The message was spreading. In the control center, scientists tried to track the incoming ship. Every hour it drew closer. The general ordered global alerts, though the news released to the public was carefully controlled. Officially, it was an unusual space object. Unofficially, panic was already rising. Dr. Howard pulled Daniel aside. "Listen to me. You may be the only one who can stop this." Daniel shook his head. "I'm no one. I'm just an operator. I didn't do anything except press a button. The old man gripped his shoulder. That was enough. They saw you. They chose you. If they are searching for you, maybe you can give them what they want before they reach us. Daniel's stomach turned. And if I can't? Dr. Howard's voice grew heavy. Then humanity may not survive what comes. That night, Daniel sat alone again, waiting. The whisper did not take long. They are almost here. Daniel forced himself to speak. What do they want? Why me? The answer was colder than ice. You stole the message. You broke the silence. You brought them to your kind. Now they come to take back what was theirs. Daniel's voice shook. And what is that? The whisper paused. Then, like a shadow sliding across his thoughts, it answered. You. Daniel's blood ran cold. His hands shook as he covered his face. They weren't coming for Earth. They weren't coming for humanity. They were coming for him. Daniel did not sleep for the next 2 nights. Every time he closed his eyes, the whisper returned, stronger, clearer. He no longer heard it only in his mind. Now it filled his dreams, showing him flashes of shadows and lights, things that did not belong to Earth. They are closer, the whisper said again and again. They follow the sound. They follow you. By the 3rd day, the entire world knew something was wrong. Governments tried to hide the truth, but the sky betrayed them. A new star had appeared, faint but moving. People pointed at it, wondering what it was. Some prayed, some panicked, and some cheered, calling it the first contact humanity had always dreamed of. But in the control center, the truth was darker. The ship was massive, larger than anything humans had ever built. And it was not slowing down. Dr. Howard studied the data with hollow eyes. It is not coming in peace, he said. It is hunting. The general refused to accept defeat. He ordered satellites armed, nuclear missiles prepared, every defense ready. But deep down, even the soldiers knew the truth. No weapon on Earth could match what was coming. Daniel sat at his console, staring at the endless stream of numbers. His body was present, but his mind was far away. The whisper did not leave him. It spoke softly, like a cruel companion. You cannot hide, Daniel. You are the key. They will take you, and through you, they will see your world. Daniel pressed his hands against his head. Why me? I'm nothing. I don't understand. The whisper gave no comfort. Only silence. Later that night, Dr. Howard approached him in the empty hall. You must tell me the truth. How much do you hear? Daniel hesitated, then finally spoke. Everything. They speak to me like I belong to them. They say they're coming for me. Dr. Howard's face grew pale. He lowered his voice. Then maybe giving them what they want is the only way to save Earth. Daniel's eyes widened. You mean surrender? The old scientist nodded slowly. If they want only you, then perhaps one life is the price to save billions. The words cut through Daniel like knives. He wanted to scream, to run, but deep down, he knew Dr. Howard was right. The next morning, the ship was close enough to be seen with the naked eye. It glowed like a dark star, a shape moving against the heavens. Crowds gathered in cities, watching, shouting, praying. The world held its breath. In the control center, panic ruled. Governments demanded answers, leaders shouted across screens, and soldiers prepared for the worst. Then, for the first time, the ship spoke. Every radio, every television, every phone, every device on Earth, came alive at once. The same cold voice that had haunted Daniel's mind now echoed across the planet. You are not the ones. This was not for you. You will give us the thief, or you will all burn. The words struck like thunder. Billions heard them. Billions understood. Humanity was no longer a secret. The general clenched his fists. We do not bow to threats, he roared. We will fight. But Dr. Howard only shook his head. Fight, and we all die. They are not asking for Earth. They are asking for one man. Daniel felt the room turn toward him, though no one had spoken his name. He could feel the truth pressing down on him, heavy as the sky itself. That night, He stood on the rooftop of his building, staring at the glowing shape in the heavens. His chest ached. His thoughts raced. The whisper came again, softer this time, almost gentle. Daniel, you cannot fight us. You cannot run. But you can choose. Come to us, and your world will live. Refuse, and your world will end. Daniel closed his eyes. His body trembled. He was just one man. An ordinary man. But now, the fate of humanity was in his hands. He whispered into the night, his voice breaking. If I go with you, will they be safe? The silence lasted so long that he thought there would be no answer. Then, finally, the whisper returned. They will be spared. Daniel's knees weakened. He gripped the railing, staring at the alien light above. He knew the truth, his life no longer belonged to him. The choice had already been made. Daniel walked into the control center the next morning with heavy steps. The world outside was drowning in fear. The alien ship now filled the night sky like a second moon. It was not a star anymore, it was a shadow, dark and massive, blocking the heavens. People on the streets stared up in terror. Some prayed, some rioted, some fell into silence, waiting for the end. Inside the control center, the atmosphere was worse. The general barked orders, soldiers moved nervously, scientists whispered among themselves. No one had slept. No one could think of anything but the voice that had echoed across the planet. You will give us the thief, or you will all burn. Daniel sat quietly, his face pale. He already knew the truth. He was the thief. He had been chosen. The voice had told him again and again. He had wanted to fight it, deny it, but there was no more time. Dr. Howard approached him. The old man's eyes were tired, but his voice was calm. It must be you, he said softly. There is no other way. You go to them, and maybe Earth will be safe. Daniel swallowed hard. And if they lie? Dr. Howard hesitated. Then at least you gave your people a chance. The general disagreed. We do not give them anyone, he shouted across the room. We fight until the last man. Humanity will not kneel. But even his soldiers looked afraid. They all knew the truth, Earth had no chance in battle. Their weapons were nothing compared to what hung above them in the sky. Daniel stood. His voice was weak, but it cut through the noise. I'll go. The room went silent. All eyes turned to him. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Dr. Howard nodded slowly, a mix of sorrow and respect in his gaze. Arrangements were made. A shuttle would carry him into orbit, close enough for the alien ship to see. It was a suicide mission, but Daniel felt strangely calm. Maybe because the voice was no longer fighting him. It was guiding him. That night, he sat alone in his small apartment one last time. He stared at the city outside his window. Families huddled together, children cried, lights flickered in fear. The whisper returned, softer than ever before. You are ready. Daniel clenched his fists. If I go with you, they live. That is the deal. The voice answered, firm and cold. Yes. They live. You are the key. You will come. Tears filled his eyes. He had no family, no children, no one to leave behind. Perhaps that was why fate had chosen him. He was the one who pressed the button, the one who listened when he should have stayed silent. This was his punishment. The next morning, the world held its breath. News spread like wildfire. One man was going to the ship. Some cursed his name, calling him a coward. Others prayed for him, calling him a savior. His face was shown on every screen, though he avoided looking at them. The shuttle was prepared on a military launch pad. Soldiers saluted him as he walked past, though their eyes were full of fear and pity. Dr. Howard was the last to meet him before he entered the craft. You are braver than all of us, the old man whispered. Daniel shook his head. No. I am just guilty. The engines roared. The shuttle rose into the sky, fire and smoke trailing behind it. The world watched as it carried a single man into the void. From the small window, Daniel saw Earth growing smaller beneath him. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It was beautiful, fragile, alive. His chest ached as he thought of the billions who depended on his choice. Then he saw it. The alien ship. It was enormous, stretching across the stars like a dark city floating in the void. Its surface was black metal, alive with strange lights that pulsed like veins. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a thing not built for human eyes. The shuttle shook as something invisible pulled it in. No engines, no control, it was being dragged. Daniel closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "This is it." The whisper inside his head grew louder, clearer, no longer distant. "You have come. The thief is ours." The shuttle's walls groaned. Lights flickered. And then, without warning, everything stopped. Daniel floated in silence. The stars outside vanished, replaced by blackness. He was no longer in space. He was somewhere else. The whisper became a voice, strong and near, echoing not just in his mind but in the air around him. "Welcome, Daniel." Daniel opened his eyes. He was no longer inside the shuttle. He was standing on solid ground, though it was not ground as he knew it. It glowed faintly beneath his feet, stretching endlessly into the shadows. Shapes moved in the distance. Tall, thin, alien figures with glowing eyes, walking slowly toward him. And Daniel understood, his journey had only just begun. Daniel stood frozen as the tall shapes approached. Their bodies were thin and strange, their skin dark like stone, but their eyes glowed with sharp white light. They moved without sound, like shadows given form. The voice that had whispered in his mind now thundered in the air around him. "You are the thief." Daniel's throat was dry. "I didn't mean to steal anything. I was only listening. I pressed a button. That's all." The tallest figure stopped a few steps away. Its glowing eyes studied him. Then, slowly, it raised a long hand and pointed at him. "You broke the silence. The silence is law." Daniel's heart pounded. "I didn't know. I didn't understand." The figure's voice was cold. "Ignorance is not freedom. You have called us here. And now the true heirs of the message will follow. They are not merciful." Daniel's chest tightened. "Then why me? Why not just destroy Earth? Why bring me here?" For the first time, the figures looked at one another. Their movements were slow, deliberate, as if debating silently. Finally, the leader spoke again. "Because you heard. And because you changed the message." Daniel frowned. "Changed it? I didn't change anything." The glowing eyes narrowed. "By hearing it, you made it yours. The message was meant to pass unseen, unbroken. But you gave it form in your mind. Now, through you, the path is open. You are the key." Daniel's knees weakened. He wanted to collapse, but he forced himself to stay standing. "So, what happens now? Do you kill me?" The leader tilted its head, then stepped closer. Its voice dropped lower, almost like a whisper again. "We are not your enemy. We were guarding the silence. But the others will come, and they are far worse. If you stay, they will find you. If you return to your world, they will burn it to ash. Either way, humanity has been seen." Daniel felt his breath stop. His worst fear was true. By listening, by pressing that button, he had doomed his planet. He shook his head, tears in his eyes. There must be another way. The figure reached out its long hand, not to strike, but to touch his chest. Daniel froze as the cold light of its fingers burned against him, not pain, but weight. He felt something press into his mind, like doors opening that he never knew were there. And then he saw it. Visions. Stars falling. Worlds burning. Armies of ships blacker than space itself. Creatures that fed on sound, on signals, on voices. The true heirs of the message, the ones who were meant to hear it. They were hunters. They would not stop until Earth was silent. Daniel staggered back, clutching his head. The vision ended, leaving him gasping. The alien voice spoke again. "Now you see. We cannot fight them alone. But through you, your kind may resist. You are the first to hear. You can teach your people silence, or you can lead them to war." Daniel's thoughts spun. He had left Earth to save it. But now he was being given a choice far heavier than death. He was not just a sacrifice, he was a warning. He swallowed hard. "If I go back, if I carry this knowledge, will Earth survive? The figure's glowing eyes dimmed, like fading stars. If you are strong. If you are wise. If your people listen. The floor beneath Daniel's feet began to shake. The blackness around him cracked with light, as if the world itself was tearing apart. The figures stepped back, their glowing eyes fading into the shadows. You will return, the voice thundered one last time. But remember this, once silence is broken, it can never be restored. The ground split open, and Daniel fell. He fell through endless darkness, through fire and stars, through whispers that screamed and laughed. And then he opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of the shuttle. The lights flickered weakly. Earth filled the window, bright and blue, waiting below. His radio crackled to life. Voices shouted. Daniel! Daniel, do you copy? What happened? What did they do to you? Daniel sat up slowly, his body trembling. His mind burned with visions of what was coming. His voice was hoarse when he finally answered. They're not the only ones out there, he whispered. Others are coming. We don't have much time. The line went silent. The world below waited for answers. Daniel stared out at Earth. Beautiful, fragile Earth. His heart was heavy, but his choice was made. He would not let his people face the darkness blind. The message had not been meant for humanity, but humanity had heard it. And because of that, everything had changed forever.